Hey folks, welcome back to Game Geeks. I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel. Today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the new version of Dawning Star, Fate of EOS. For those of you who are really good at archiving the show and remembering what we do, I reviewed Dawning Star a long time ago. In its original edition, it was a D20 Modern, D20 Future game. Now, that had a few good products, and then it sort of faded because, let's face it, people's lives get busy. And a couple years ago, there was a Kickstart for a Fate version of this game. I just got my hands on a copy of it, and I really enjoy the Dawning Star setting. For those who don't feel like going back and reviewing old episodes, here's what it's about. In the not-too-distant future, Earth detects a very large meteoric object coming toward our planet to basically kill us all. No survival, extinction level event, planet cracker, etc. We managed to get our crap together long enough to build several very large ships that leave Earth with a small fraction of the population because that's all that would fit on it. Most of them in cryo, some of them awake long enough to get things going. There'll be some generation of the people who keep the ship maintained, etc., until we get to the nearby star system where we think we can colonize. The big rock, we can't Armageddon it to death, so the big rock smacks into the Earth, kills most of the population, they fly away. At the end of the solar system, beyond the orbit of Pluto, they find an object that, when scanned, activates big flash of light, wormhole, and they're shot into another system that they don't know where they are. So they explore the system, they find a planet that they can habitate. They barely land the ship, which is called the Dawning Star. That's the main ship that lands. They barely land it, they set up, and the original game, the idea was you are part of this planet, you are part of this colony, and what you do is you survive. There are mysteries on the planet, there are indigenous people that you need to deal with, there's politics, and there's this mysterious alien race that keeps showing up and wreaking havoc. The second book of it, which was Shadows of Helios, I'm pretty sure that was the title, was the rest of the system and everything else that's going on, and sort of some of the bigger picture ideas. Well, with Fate of EOS, the new version of this, they've updated it a little bit because now, in addition to that story, there's a second story that was going on that honestly I think would be a more interesting game, at least at the outset in my mind. It feels very Stargate Universe or Battlestar Galactica, which is another one of the ships got shot to a different sector. And they were in a system where they found a larger, ancient ship with more advanced technology that they retrofitted, and they had to deal with the ship's pissy AI that happened to be the former captain, that they are able to do these wormhole jumps, and they collect all of these other races because the same bad guys that you're dealing with on the planet are causing havoc out here. And eventually the two stories merge, the ship comes back, there's a big battle, it's practically destroyed, and now they're settling in some of these other alien races into habitats around the planet. There's a lot of racial tension. There's all kinds of fun stuff going on here. I think it's a brilliant setting. I think it's a little deep. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a lot that you are going to have to teach your players. I think a lot of games assume that every one of your players is going to run out and buy a copy of the game. Now, I don't ever expect that of my group because, one, I have the attention span of a gnat on a hot pan and I hop around all the time, and two, let's face it, we don't always have money to go pour out on our favorite games. So it is a little bit of a deeper setting that you'd have to teach, not as deep as, say, Fading Suns, where there's a lot of work you have to do to teach that setting. I love it. It's one of my favorites. But that is a really hard to teach setting, especially if you want to try to get it right. Dawning Star, there is enough familiar in terms of science fiction that we've seen, in terms of the current issues dealing with the setting, colonist rights versus native rights versus even more recent colonist rights. I think we can all wrap our brains around it. Using Fate, what they have done to modify Fate for this is they've made it a little bit crunchier. They've made it a little less loosey-goosey that Fate tends to be, and a lot more mechanically inclined. One of the things they've brought in is a skill affinity, which is a particular skill when you get to delete one of the negatives that happens. So you don't succeed more, but you fail less. Sounds like I'm trying to sell you something. You don't pay less, I give you more. If you get that reference, you become one of my favorite people. There's an extensive section on the alien life forms in this setting, because you're humans, you got to deal with them. You can't be insular anymore. The technology, some of which we brought with us, some of which we've adapted from the natives that were already on EOS, some of which we have back retrofitted from other alien technology that we've found. There's the big picture questions of what's really going on. The only thing I feel like the book is missing is a section on what kind of game you want to run. Because as I'm reading through this, the game assumes that you'll be playing on EOS or exploring the system. And I got to tell you, that starship that was running around picking up people and dealing with the alien threat, I think that would be an amazing game to play. That you're part of that. And it's got enough military structure that your players would be told what to do, but there's also enough flexibility that they could do kind of what they wanted to on their own, which is really where Savage Worlds shines, in my opinion. Finally, the last thing I want to point out about this game is it's got a really interesting, their version of psionics, which is called Red Truth, which is the ability to sort of read into the reality base code. Like literally you see it as data, as what's going on, and you can interpret it and get your mind into it and around it. And it can drive you crazy. It can make you less human. It can do all sorts of other wonderful things, but that's the fun if you decide you want to play a psychic. You can also be infected by Red Truth. Like you got exposed to some portion of it you didn't want to, and all of a sudden, hey, guess what? You can read minds, and it's going to drive you nuts over time. Good luck! Obviously, because it's Fate, players choose this for themselves rather than the DM going, good luck! Like a cursed fountain that makes you have a -1 to all attacks. Hi, Josh. So either way, I love Dawning Star from the beginning. I still do. It is absolutely a phenomenal setting, and I think Fate works really well for the game itself, especially with the modifications that they've made. For Game Geeks, I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel. Good day and good gaming.